Classic 86, a milestone in the sport of professional bass angling. In the next 90 minutes, you'll not only be watching the World Championship of Professional Bass Angling, you'll also be seeing history made, because this telecast, this Bassmasters Classic from Chattanooga, Tennessee, is coming to you live. For the first time in professional bass angling, you'll be seeing it as it happens. You'll see what it took to get here and watch the behind-the-scenes, week-long activity that up to now has been witnessed only by those who've been a part of the Classic.
You're watching the greatest bass anglers in the country go head-to-head for the coveted Classic crown and the $50,000 winner's purse.
And you'll be here inside the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga Arena when one bass angler is crowned the 1986 World Champion, the best of the best. I'm Ray Scott. Welcome to the Classic, the grandest show in angling. Stay tuned. The Bassmasters will be right back live from Chattanooga.
The Bassmasters Classic, the test of the best, the World Championship of Professional Bass Angling. This is where it's decided today. This is where the nation's best bass anglers are vying not only for the World Champion's crown, but also for the $50,000 first place prize money that goes with the coveted championship. This 16th annual Bassmasters Classic is taking place on Chickamauga and Nickajack Lakes, just outside Chattanooga, Tennessee, in an area rich in history. An area where many of the great battles of the Civil War were decided. There's a battle of different sorts going on here now. Instead of guns and drums and mounted horses, high-performance bass boats, loaded with sophisticated electronic aids, are carrying these classic contestants to the bass-filled battlefields of Chickamauga and Nickajack. There are 41 classic contenders out on the lakes, and it's not by accident, luck, or happenstance they're here competing. Jack Chancellor, the 1985 Bassmasters Classic champion, earned an automatic berth for his great win last year. And 5 of the anglers from the Bass Angler Sportsman Society's federations achieved their right to compete in this World Championship by being the top anglers on 5 winning teams in the regional federation fish-offs. For the remaining 35 Bassmasters, it's been a different story. They fish their way to this championship as the world's top-ranked professional anglers, following 6 elimination tournaments across the country this season. The $2 million Bassmaster qualifying tournament trail began last fall on the storm-lashed waters of the St. Lawrence River in New York. Television fishing show host and professional bass angler Jimmy Houston of Oklahoma battled the cold, the wind, and the efforts of more than 250 other Bassmasters to win the season's first event and launch his bid to become Bass Angler of the Year. From upper New York State, the touring Bassmasters headed to deep, clear Lake Lanier in Georgia, where classic contender Gary Klein of California flipped docks with small plastic worms to take top honors and the $30,000 winner's purse. These anglers continued to pile up classic points as heavy strings of bass were weighed during the Bassmaster Florida Invitational on Lake Okeechobee. Missouri's Denny Brower, competing in his 5th straight Classic, scored valuable points when he fished his way to a $30,000 first place win in the season's 4th event, the Texas Bassmaster Invitational on Sam Rayburn Reservoir. From Texas, the B.A.S.S tournament trail wound its way to Missouri's Truman Reservoir. Former Classic champion Larry Nixon of Texas traveled nearly 400 miles by boat during the 3-day contest to reach the bass he'd located in a secluded creek that would bring him the tournament championship. And then the final qualifying event, the 1986 Super Invitational, the Chattanooga Shootout, right here just 2.5 months ago. And the last chance for these anglers to make this classic showdown, to win the points they needed to be invited here today. It was also the tournament where the Angler of the Year race would be decided. The bass angler who compiled the most pounds and ounces during the tournament year. Denny Brower, who won the Bassmaster Chattanooga Invitational here in 1985, led the Angler of the Year race going into the final round. But it was Jimmy Houston, fishing spinner baits in Nickajack, who pulled it out of the hat the final day, besting Brower by 4 pounds 3 ounces to win the Angler of the Year race and the top seed position in this 16th Classic Clash.
Wouldn't you know I got...
It's a real honor to call out that #1 man of the 40 anglers coming to the Classic. He is the Angler of the Year from Cookson, Oklahoma. Let's hear it for Jimmy Houston. Thank you. Hey, Jimmy, congratulations from all of us, myself, our staff, all the fishermen who've been knocking heads with you all year in a friendly way, all the sponsors and everybody that knows you and have known you for these 17, 18 years you've been fishing with us. Making Angler of the Year is pretty important, I know, to you and to all of us, so I'd like to hear any comments you might have.
Well, it is a thrill. When the year started and I won New York, I didn't really think about winning the Angler of the Year. Bob Cobb thought about it. Bob wrote the first article that was ever written about me fishing. We were catching white bass under a Coleman lantern on Lake Tenkiller when I was about 14 years old, and Bob was making $40 a week up there writing for the Tulsa paper, and he asked about the Angler of the Year. Was you making that much, Bob? He asked about the Angler of the Year in New York, and I said it really was the furthest thing from my mind, and it really was, because I don't really have the time to dedicate that it takes to make the Angler of the Year, and I messed around a couple of tournaments, Okeechobee and Lanier, and barely got the money at Lanier and missed the money at Okeechobee, but I still wasn't very far out, so I decided to really work real hard the last 3 tournaments and finished 3rd at Rayburn and 5th at Truman, and we came down here and worked just as hard as we could. I came down and pre-fished it, which I normally don't do, but I pre-fished for almost 2 days and didn't catch any fish, and then Chris and I fished for 3 days, for 2 days of practice down here and didn't catch any fish, and I told Chris that I felt a lot like Joshua when God kept taking all of his soldiers away from him, and he finally got him down to the right amount of soldiers to win the battle, and he took all of my soldiers away from me. I caught 4 fish the first day of practice and 6 the second day, but he gave me a trumpet, and it was Marvin Stover that lived here, and he had some fish found down on Nickajack, and I went down and fished those fish for the first 2 days of the tournament, and he was kind enough to let me go back and fish yesterday. And that's really what won the Angler of the Year, was those fish down there.
29-year-old Zell Rowland of Texas, however, beat them all for the 4 days here in June, winning the biggest paycheck of his professional bass angling career, $72,000, when he took first-place honors in the Super Invitational. But now, there's the question of who really is the best in this final test of the best. Stay tuned. The Bassmasters will be right back live from the Bassmasters Classic in Chattanooga. Picking the area that's most productive is one of the biggest decisions a tournament bass angler faces. But here at the Bassmasters Classic, it's been a double tough decision every day, because these anglers have had the option of fishing 2 lakes instead of just 1, Chickamauga or Nickajack. The takeoff point is on Chickamauga, a 35,400-acre impoundment with 810 miles of shoreline. Chickamauga has a good population of bass. In the most recent survey in 1983, the lake had 11 pounds of bass per acre. Nickajack, however, the smaller 10,370-acre lake located below the Chickamauga locks, is considered better. 1981 surveys showed the lake boasted 14 pounds of bass per acre. This has posed a dilemma for many anglers. Although Nickajack has a reputation for larger average fish, the Nickajack bass are known to be fickle fish, either on their feed or off. But the biggest problem for those who have and are fishing Nickajack is the locking through and running time it takes to get to the better fishing areas. A classic contender sacrifices up to 3 hours of his 7.5-hour fishing day by picking Nickajack. But some, even before this tournament started, considered the gamble worth it.
Nickajack is a big gamble. I'm going to go down there for basically one big reason is that I can't catch fish out of Chickamauga. I've never caught a limit out of this lake right here. Several days I've caught 6, and
that's counting practicing for tournaments, 2 years tournaments down here, pre-fishing, goofing off, and everything else. So I am going to be going down to Nickajack, and it is a gamble. There's no doubt about that. We don't have much fishing time. The way I've got it figured, it's about 4 hours fishing time down there, and that's about all, which is not very much. It's going to be at very best around probably 8:30, 8:45 before a guy gets down there. He's going to have to come back at 1 o'clock. By 10 o'clock, if you don't have about 4 fish, your stomach's going to start tightening up a little bit. Another big gamble that I don't know how many people have thought about is how many people go down there. Although it's about 50 miles of water down there, there's only about 4 or 5 miles that's really got a lot of fish in it. And if there's over 4 or 5 people down there, I don't believe anyone down there will win that tournament. I think that 4 boats would be fine. I think if there's 4 boats down there, it's a good possibility the winner will come from down there, particularly if we get cloud and a little bit of breeze like we have now. 5, 6, 7 boats, I doubt that the winner will come from Nickajack. We'll probably be butting heads down there and kind of dividing the fish up, and it might let some of these people catch some of these little old bitty runners down here in Chickamauga and win the tournament.
Even though the previous Bassmaster Tour events here were won on Chickamauga, the time of year and conditions were different. Denny Brower won the Chickamauga tournament in May 1985, and Zell Rowland took the honors last June. Both know the conditions and fish-catching patterns on Chickamauga have changed. This knowledge has weighed heavily in their pre-planning strategy.
The last time I was here fishing, the grass was about 5 or 6 inches underneath the surface of the water in these small bays and coves. Since I've came back and pre-fished, the grass has come up a little bit more, and it seems more matted on the surface. So it'll definitely change the pattern that I was fishing recently. Basically, my strategy in this tournament is to try to get away from a lot of the other contenders, because several of them know the area, and I'm sure quite a few of them have been over pre-fishing previous to this tournament. My strategy is to more than likely to lock through to Nickajack and fish that water down there, since I'm going to be giving up 2 hours of my fishing time versus staying in Chickamauga and getting to fish the entire time.
This tournament's going to be unique, I feel, from the standpoint that we've already been here twice. Last year when I won the tournament here, I fished several different patterns, actually 2. One was a river channel type of pattern, which is a type of pattern in this Bassmasters Classic that if a guy get on it one day and hit the fish right, he could win it in that one day. My strategy going into this tournament is going to be to try to catch 11 pounds a day. If I can catch 11 pounds, that'd be 33 pounds for the 3 days, and I feel I'd probably, be like 4 or 5 pounds ahead of the nearest competitor. Down deep, I feel it's going to take 28, 29 pounds to win it, but you just can't take that chance. Nobody really cares who finishes second in the Classic. You got to try to win it, and that's what I'm going to try to do. I've got several different patterns I'm going to try to work the next 2 days of practice, and hopefully something will come together. If it don't, then I'm going to have to commit to going after that big stringer of fish, and I feel good that I know a couple areas where these big fish live. I just wish they were a little more consistent and a little more easier to catch. Then I'd plan my whole tournament around them. But I'm going to try to fish this tournament smart and go after my easy limit of keepers a day, if there is such a thing as easy fish here.
There are many superstars here, and while there are always pre-tournament favorites, most press observers decline to pick a runaway choice early in the game. The main reason is that not only are these contenders great bass anglers, but also the majority have tournament experience here and have proved themselves on these waters. For example, former Classic winner Larry Nixon has posted 2 fourth-place finishes here the last 2 years. He's consistent on Chickamauga. 1979 Classic champ Hank Parker took 7th here in the early June contest. 3-time Bassmasters Classic champ Rick Clunn is always a threat, and for good reason. He was 6th in 1985 and 7th here this year. And you can't count out all-time great Roland Martin of Florida, who's fishing a record 15th Classic. Or former Bassmasters Classic champs like Jack Chancellor of Alabama, Jack Haynes of Louisiana, Tommy Martin of Texas, or Stanley Mitchell of Georgia. All are proven champions who have what it takes to win the Classic. In the Classic, everyone starts equal. The rules are the same, and every contestant is fishing under the same conditions. In this Bassmasters Classic, the anglers can bring in 7 12-inch or larger bass each day, Thursday, Friday, and today. If a fish is dead, it costs the fisherman 2 ounces. Keeping the fish alive is critical, since even 1 ounce can make a $38,000 difference in the paycheck. The difference between the $50,000 first place money and the $12,000 second place purse. Each contestant is paired in the boat with a member of the press, as they have done for each of the 2 previous days of competition. They left at 7 o'clock this morning and must return to the launch site by 2:30 this afternoon. Each minute they're late will cost them a £1 penalty. Being 15 minutes late will disallow their total catch for the day. The contestants are not allowed to use nets or gaffs and must land each bass by hand. They're also limited to 10 pounds of tackle and 5 reel and rod combinations. As you may notice, the Classic equipment is identical. This morning, as on previous mornings, all contestants and their press partners were driven to the launch site in the Chevy S10 Blazer, pulling a Ranger bass boat on a Ranger trail trailer. The boats are equipped with 150 horsepower Evinrude XP150 outboards. The electric maneuvering motors on the bow are 24-volt Motor Guide Dura-Amps and are powered by AC Delco Voyager batteries. Each boat is equipped with 3 Humminbird fish finding and navigation electronic instruments and a surface temperature gauge. Wellington Leisure Products supply Classic contestants and press anglers with Bassman safety vests. Classic rules state, whenever the outboard is started, both persons in the boat must have their life jackets on and zipped. A kill switch must also be attached to the body of the boat driver. This device, long a requirement in Bass Anglers Sportsman Society competition, immediately shuts off the outboard motor should the driver lose control of the boat for any reason. Just as the sport of professional bass angling has advanced and changed over the last dozen years, so have the boats and equipment these Bassmasters use to make their living. A perfect example is this vintage Ranger boat used by the pros in the 1973 Bassmasters Classic. It's almost like comparing a Model T with today's sports cars.
Forrest Wood, I ain't believe it. How are you, buddy?
All right, Ray, how are you?
Say, what's it like to be riding in an antique?
Well, it feels pretty good, to tell you the truth. But they've come a long ways, haven't they?
Oh, there's no question about it. That's a 1973 Bassmasters Classic rig, and I can recall so well when we unfolded, took the cover off, and showed it to all the press folks. What a tremendous impression they had, and just absolutely awed by what they saw.
It was state of the art at that time, wasn't it?
Well, it was. It was a tremendous advancement over what had been available just a matter of 2-3 years before. And I can remember so well the effort was made to carry that first little paddle boat we had to that machine over there. But look what's happened, though, just in those 15 years or so into this fantastic Classic rig here.
Well, it had to, Ray. The demands the fishermen put on their equipment as tournaments grew. The boats had to improve and get bigger. We fished lakes where we travel longer distances, and all of the equipment used by tournament fishermen had to be improved to keep up with them.
Well, the fishermen wanted the best. You know, when you're bass fishing professionally, and like we do, you want to get from point to point as quickly, efficiently, and as safely as possible.
That's right.
And I can recall so well in those early days, you commented to me, you may not remember it, but there were 3 things you wanted to try to accomplish in the development of your bass boats, and you've done that over the years. And that was 3 things. One, I remember, was safety. The other was efficiency, and the third thing you said was comfort.
That's true. That's still true today.
You've got it. I mean, this boat here will tolerate virtually any kind of water, and we, as you know, fish from coast to coast, and we're in stormy waters of big lakes, sprawling lakes, and then the river systems of the country. But this will take the licking and keep on ticking, as the guy said.
Yeah.
But it is marvelous.
And they're safer as we go along, too, because of the requirements of Bass to wear life jackets anytime you're operating the boat, and emergency stop switches, and the features built into the boat. And boats are certainly safer, and statistics prove that they're safer today than they were 15 years ago.
Oh, there's no question. I can remember that boat there, that 73 version. I can remember that you and your engineers designed flotation in that boat that was far in excess of what was required by the Coast Guard. And this boat is virtually 2 hulls that's just loaded with styrofoam and the various components that will give it upright flotation in all circumstances. Plus,
Sure.
You've got 2 live wells. I remember the old boat, that was the first boat for us that you and your engineers put a functional live well with pump system in it. It's primitive, but it worked.
We did that because it was obvious that we had to stop killing the fish and had to get some means put together to have fishing tournaments and still release the fish alive. And you recognize that, and so our people designed a live well to do that, and we still use the same thing today, aerated live wells controlled by 2 different sets of aeration systems that give us, I think, in your tournaments, probably 90% live release or better.
Yeah, 90 or better. And we just don't kill the fish, and of course we're putting them back, and we've had case after case where we've released fish on the first day and then caught them on the second, third day.
Absolutely, I've seen that happen.
Well, this is the boat, and of course every fisherman is given one of these to use during the course of the Classic, and they're precisely the same, and they're from the Evinrude engine right on through all the equipment in this boat. And it's a tremendously efficient boat, and I know the press anglers that are riding as spectators and observing these fishermen have already been very impressed with this particular boat.
Well, they have, and this boat and all of this equipment is as it is because of the input of the fishermen and the press people that fish the Classic each year, and input from the people that use the products. This is state-of-the-art for 1986.
You know, I was just noticing something you've had for some time, but a lot of folks don't realize that even the seats in this boat, the fishing seat up front as well as this boat, this seat here is a hydraulic system where all you have to do to raise it, if you're in the rear seat or the front, when you just merely lift this little lever and it's a hydraulic system, watch it.
Oh, yeah, pretty
You
fancy.
put it at the particular level you want it, and you're a 360-degree fisherman.
Pretty plush.
But it's tremendous, and I just want to get on with it now, and let's you and I get on back over there and see what's happening.
We're going to have the best Classic ever here in Chattanooga, Ray.
You can't beat Chattanooga for this tournament.
That's right.
Stay on board for a look at Classic Week 86 and more exciting live action from the Bassmasters Classic in Chattanooga. Chattanooga, Tennessee, site of the 1986 Bassmasters Classic. This river city, rich in beauty and history, is steeped in Southern charm and sophistication. From the legend of the last great battle of the American Revolution, to its reputation as scenic center of the South, to the Chattanooga Choo-Choo. It is a city enraptured with its own nostalgia, history, and quality of living. That quality of life is reflected in many ways, not the least of which is its love affair with the great outdoors. As the geographic center of the Tennessee Valley Authority's Great Lakes, Chattanooga is truly next door to outdoors. Its modern buildings, colorful attractions, natural wonders, and historic treasures are tucked in among the mountains, forests, lakes, and streams, putting almost any outdoor adventure just minutes away. Chattanooga offers its visitors an array of fun and entertainment, from Rock City Gardens' breathtaking views of 7 states, to the spectacular Ruby Falls, to the world's steepest and safest incline railway, ascending the world's most amazing mile to the top of Lookout Mountain. But the premier attraction is Lookout Mountain itself and the Chickamauga-Chattanooga National Military Park. Though the civil strife of the war between the states is long over, and the battle above the clouds is now quiet, the images of what once was in America's most critical time live on. Bass angling is not new to this area. One of the first clubs to affiliate with the Bass Anglers Sportsman Society was formed here. Since then, several clubs have become active in the area with numerous tournaments, including the Bassmasters Classic being held here this year.
Evinrude Express will be leaving in about 10 minutes.
Danny's in the way.
Father, we ask thee to look after us all this morning. Give us a great day of fishing. Get home safe and sound in Jesus' name. Amen. Gentlemen, start your engines and hold the line.
Thursday, the first day of competition in the 1986 World Championship of Professional Bass Angling. Clear and bright and calm. But for many of these anglers, it would be a day they'd sooner not remember. Regardless of where these Bassmasters fished this first day, Chickamauga or Nickajack, the patterns were much the same. Worms, spinnerbaits, and topwaters around the milfoil, a weedy growth prevalent in both lakes. And the results for most of these Bassmasters on Thursday also were much the same. A lot of bass, but too small to reach the 12-inch legal size. That first day's fishing was so tough, even great anglers like former Classic champ Hank Parker and 1986 Angler of the Year Jimmy Houston were blanked.
Well, you know, I thought I would do real good up here. I had 14 bites the first day. I got 3 places where there's a lot of fish in there, and I really expected to do real good. But they dropped that lake down there 3 foot on us, and I was only fishing 2 foot deep. And I got my grippers, and I kept looking around out there to find them, but evidently the fish that was in that 2 foot of water swam out with the rest of them.
That's a living story. Can you believe that, folks?
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
Texas angler Tommy Martin and Classic rookie Rich Tauber of California had other problems. On this day one, the 41 best bass anglers in the world could catch only 124 Tennessee bass. It was so tough, only 3 7-bass limits were brought to the scales. But in every tournament, someone will catch fish. And on that first day, this was the headline story.
Now, folks, here's the living legend of bass fishermen fishing when it comes to all-time money winnings. He won every honor in the book. Clewiston, Florida's Roland Martin. A nice welcome. He has his own great television show, Fishing with Roland Martin. He has been with us now for about 16 years on the circuit. He's a highly educated man. He's 46 years old, getting near the twilight zone of his career. He qualified 17th this year in a maze of young men ahead of him. He is fishing his 15th Classic, and remember, this is the 16th, so that should tell you something. Angler of the Year, top performing fisherman for 9 years. Won unprecedented 16 national titles, total winnings till today, $292,500. Listen to this. Over the years, in 67 tournaments he participated in, he was in the top 10 money. Nobody has ever defeated that. Now, Roland Martin, as I mentioned, is near the end of his career. He's peaked, and his age is like mine. He's over the hill or moving that way. Never won the Classic. Never won the Classic. This may be it. At least he's getting off to a good start. Roland Martin. Now, folks, there's a man who pulls rabbits out of hats. He's been jinxed for 16 years, never being able to do well in the Classic. Never even being second.
Not in it.
Somebody said the other day that he thought mentally he was completely out of tune with the realities of winning. Today, he's come out. I don't know how he will do. We've got a leader, young Danny Correa, with 8 pounds and 8 ounces. Roland Martin could be very close to the lead. But remember, we've got other fishermen coming. The fish are being very carefully measured because we always make certain that the bass are at least 12 inches or longer. Now remember, I told you, fish, and then a big one can blow the top off of the old smokestack. That may well be what's happening in the case of Roland Martin. But we do have 2 more days after today. 6 bass, all alive for Roland Martin. Just watch the scales very, very carefully because he will make an attempt to take the lead.
He is going to take the lead, I guarantee.
All right.
I guarantee it.
All right, watch the scales now. Roland Martin.
Are you ready? Are you ready for this? 10 pounds.
10 pounds, 4 ounces.
But that was just the start, just the beginning of what will end here in just a few minutes. And the Bassmasters will be here, live, when the world champion is crowned. Don't go away. The Bassmasters will be right back. The final day of Classic 16, the final day of the World Championship of Professional Bass Angling. And as these classic anglers gathered for breakfast early today, it was obvious this World Championship was not over, and for good reason.
I don't think it's inconceivable at this time for the person sitting in 20th place to blow this whole thing out right now because of the size of the fish in this lake. I'm not saying he's going to catch a lot of big fish, but he could come upon a fish. We're talking about a 10 or 12 pound fish just too easy. I caught one on this lake here back last year that during practice it was at least a 12 pound bass, maybe even better. So with fish like that, anything could happen. Right now I think I'm out about 1 pound 13 ounces out of first. I could probably, with a limit and a 3 pound bass, I'll probably win the thing because the way fishing is, it's very, very slow. And I look to catch a limit. But I'm afraid it's just going to be a little limit again, and I'll probably come in 3rd or 4th place, just like I'm sitting right now, which I'd be tickled with that, but I come to win. Hopefully I can pull it off.
If we had a little bit of current out there, I think the weights would be quite a bit larger, and I think we'd see a few good quality fish. Right now, these fish are really conditioned to being out alongside the main channel, and anytime the current starts moving, the fish kind of ball up on the end of the grass points and stuff, and they're real easy to catch. Man, you can sit out there and catch 30, 40 fish in an hour or so, so it's kind of interesting. You can't really give up. It's a real good lake, and hopefully the water's going to move a little bit for us today.
Well, I feel very confident today. I'm going to change patterns and go with something right opposite than I did yesterday. I have 2 places left that I feel like I can roll a big fish on. Now, getting that big fish in the boat's another story, but I'm just 2 pounds out of first place, and I feel very comfortable with that. I've moved up each day, and hopefully today will be my day.
Today's the big day for me, I know. It's something that I've looked for all my life, and I just hope I can pull through with this. There's 10 other guys back there that's hoping the same thing, and they've all got a real good shot at it. So I'm just going to have to try to hold it together and catch me a good limit of fish.
The last launch of Classic 16, the last chance to become the best of the best. The crowds were there to watch, to listen, and to verbally or silently cheer on their personal heroes in a sport that has grown to the level where heroes can be made. Bass angling. For the last 2 days, these fishermen have pounded the shores and weed lines of Chickamauga and Nickajack, trying desperately to land the bass that would keep them in the hunt for the coveted Classic Crown. Before this tournament started on Thursday, it was predicted that somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 pounds would be enough to win, and that a 7-fish limit of 12-inch keeper bass each day, anchored with a larger bass, would be enough. But it hasn't worked out that way. For many here, it has been a tournament filled with frustration because the fish these bass anglers found in practice have not bitten, not like they did, not like they should. And the reason advanced by many anglers is water flow, or the lack of it. Most of these fishermen located the bass in milfoil along the river, in areas where water flow affects the fishing. When water is turned loose at the dams, a current flow is established. When the water is running, the bass react to it, becoming more aggressive in their feeding. For the last 2 days, the Tennessee Valley Authority has not run the water until late in the fishing day, as late as an hour before they quit fishing. That's what happened yesterday for Roland Martin, who was the first day leader. The The all-time money leader on the B.A.S.S tournament trail could only manage 2 small keeper bass, but he was proud of anything he caught.
Hey, got a keeper.
There are good fish here, and one like this 5-pound, 11-ounce lunker weighed in yesterday by young Federation angler Danny Correa of Massachusetts was enough to boost him into 2nd place. Missouri angler Guido Hibden, in 3rd position Thursday, fell to 8th yesterday when his honey hole failed to produce the pounds of bass he needed to stay in the front running. But quiet, consistent Jerry Ryan of North Carolina, fishing close to the launch area, was the one to be reckoned with at yesterday's weigh-in, as Ray Scott and ace test pilot Chuck Yeager weighed in Ryan's fish.
6 pounds, 14 ounces, and the new leader, Jerry Ryan.
Hold him to the camera right in front of you now.
All right, there we go, folks. Let's give him a nice hand.
But today is a different story. And although Jerry Ryan leads this classic this morning, it's never over till it's over. And Ryan himself confided that although he is in first, one angler to be concerned about today is Oklahoma fisherman Charlie Reed, currently in 4th and less than 2 pounds behind Ryan. And there's good reason not to count him out. Yesterday, he caught his 7-fish limit in the first 32 minutes of fishing.
That may be what happened, because there he is. He feels like he'll keep. Yeah, he'll keep. Keep your head down, honey. Ooh, really keep. In the boat. Boy, he's gutted, but he is sure long.
This was the last blast-off, a little more than 8 hours ago. Today was and still is a horse race, a race that will not, cannot be decided until the finish line is crossed, because less than 5 pounds separates the top 10 anglers, less than 10 pounds of weight between Jerry Ryan and 20th place. In just a few minutes, the 1986 Bassmaster Classic champion will come to the scales in what is shaking down to be one of the closest finishes in Classic history. The Bassmasters will be right back, live from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga Arena for the exciting final weigh-in of Classic 16.
Thank you, County. Harold Allen, all right. All right, our next contestant is a fine young man named Dusty Pine from Rosedale, Indiana. We want to welcome everybody here. Bassmasters Classic number 16. Our next contestant coming in is Kenneth Dusty Pine of Rosedale, Indiana. He's a young man, 39 years old, who calls himself a semi-pro. He is not a full-time professional bass fisherman. He fishes at it when he can, and he qualified from the Northern Division of our Federation group. And 5 fellows qualified from that rank in coming here to the Classic. He had the first 2 days a 0. Fishing has been absolutely nothing for him. He's had a tough time, but he struck all, at least in a small way, over this last day. 1 bass. He'll be here just in a moment. Dusty, I know it's been tough, pal, but it's been fun, hasn't it?
Weighing 1 bass, one alive.
I expected before I got here.
Weighing 1 bass, and you weighs 1 pound even.
1 pound even. Now, you fished for 3 days and caught 1 bass, and there's a few others that have had about as rough a time with this water condition like it is. How do you feel after the experience of being here in this Classic?
It's great. I'll be back next year.
We want you to be back. All the best to you, Dusty. Good luck to you. Dusty Pine. Fishing his 5th Classic from Cherryville, North Carolina, Mr. Guy Ecker.
Folks, he's 31st place when this morning began, had a very slow experience with only 3 pounds of bass, and it appears he's caught one more. These conditions are absolutely the toughest we've experienced in a long, long time, and it merely brings the best of efforts and skills out of these fishermen. It's tough. They're playing for $125,000, and it's anybody's race up until now. One good stringer could come in here, and we've got us a new winner. Guy Eckert.
All right,
one little keeper, but I've seen the time that 1 pound meant the difference in $100,000.
1 bass, 1 alive.
1 bass and a weight? 15 ounces, Guy Eckert. Now, Guy, you've done better than that on many occasions. Conditions have been rough here. What's your feeling, briefly?
Well, this lake's been real good to me. I've won about $17,000 or $18,000 fishing tournaments on this lake, and it's just a bad tournament. I caught some fish in practice, some real good stringers, and big fish didn't ever bite for me. I caught like 40 fish yesterday and 20-some today, and never really got on no good fish.
Now, Guy, we want to explain to the folks that the 40 fish that you caught, you didn't bring them in, and the reason they were
too small.
They have to be 12 inches or longer.
Right, and most of the fish run from 9 about 11.5 inches long. I can't see why this place next year don't have plenty of 14-inch fish, because if all those fish grow up by next year, there should be plenty of fish in this place.
Nice hand, folks. Guy Eckert. We want to mention the leaders. The leader at the moment, in first place as it stands now, is Gary Klein from California with 22 pounds and 1 ounce. And just 3 ounces beneath him, 1 pound and 3 ounces, David Yarborough of Gadsden, Alabama, in second place, followed by Randall Romig of Pennsylvania, Jerry Ryan in fourth place, and Larry Nixon right below him by 1 ounce. So we have a spread at the moment of about 4 pounds, 5 pounds maybe, between the top 6 people. Now, Jimmy Nolan, a great friend of ours from Flippin, Arkansas, fishing his first classic. He lives in Bull Shoals, Arkansas, has 1 bass, total weight, 1 pound and 1 ounce. Now, Jimmy, you weigh about 200 and how much?
10 pounds.
Now, what does it feel like when you bring in 1 bass that weighs 1 pound? How does it make you feel?
I don't know. You should ask him how he feels.
But you're the boss, huh?
Yeah, I'm the boss, but I'll bring him in.
Jimmy, you fish the Great White River, and I know fishing is different up there this time of year as well, but we want you to come back here next year and make another stab at this Bassmasters Classic.
Well, we hope we can. I had a good time. I want to thank all the people here in Chickamauga Lake. It's a fantastic lake. We caught like 60 fish today, but we had a lot of shorts. But it's a good fishing lake, and it's easy to understand once you learn the ridges and everything. And I certainly want to thank 9 and Forest Wood for giving me the opportunity to be here, and I really appreciate them for that.
Well, they're good folks, and they appreciate you, and I know this, that you're a better fisherman in the performance today and throughout the last 2 days, and we want to see you back on the circuit next year.
Well, thank you, Ray. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Nice hand, folks. Jimmy Nolan of Flippin, Arkansas. Folks, our friend Orlando Wilson, he just came in. He just moved in. Come here, just take a minute with me, Orlando. Orlando is a tremendous fisherman, has his own TV show, and he's 39 years old and has done very poorly in this tournament. He is a tremendous bass fisherman. Harold Sharp's buddy as well. Orlando, you, besides being very low down in the fish catching department of this tournament, you're also the shortest man. Now, has that contributed anything to the fishing performance of yours today?
Well, it possibly could have, Ray. You know, I'd rather spend 30 days in jail than come in here with no fish. And I worked just as hard as I could work. I caught about 15 fish today that didn't keep. I'd been catching 30 and 40 a day and 1 or 2 keepers. But, you know, it was just tough. But one good thing about it, you got some of the nicest people in the world here in the Chattanooga area, and we appreciate you guys having us in this week. God bless all of you, and thank you.
All right. Orlando Wilson, Woodstock, Georgia. His wife, Carolyn, is here with him having a picnic in Chattanooga. Now, Chet Dalpett of Warsaw, Missouri, just pulled up. He's a fishing guide from Warsaw, Missouri, fishing up in that part of the country. He's a professional guide, qualifying it for 11th place going into this tournament. Now, while he prepares to bring his fish up, let's all stick by We'll be back with the Bassmasters Classic in just 1 minute. Welcome back, folks, to the Bassmasters Classic, and we have a legendary fisherman who just pulled in during the commercial break, Roland Martin of Clewiston, Florida. Roland Martin of Clewiston, Florida, a man who has absolutely won every honor in the world with the exception of one. He has never won the Bassmasters Classic. He has won $292,000 in previous winnings, 9 times Angler of the Year, and fishing in 15 Bassmasters Classic. He led this tournament the first day, and then yesterday fell to 9th place with a total catch when yesterday began, 12 pounds 9. Now, he needs 9 pounds to pull into the lead. He may have it, he may not. We'll know in a minute. The fish will be checked, measured for length, make sure they're nice and lively, and then we'll put them on the scales. Remember, Gary Klein is our leader with 22 pounds and 1 ounce. He has already come in. He's followed by David Yarborough of Alabama with 20 pounds and 14 ounces, and a host of others. Randy Romig, Jerry Ryan of North Carolina, and Larry Nixon of Texas. Here's Roland Martin. Roland, my friend, this is it, the final day. You have to have about 9 pounds to take the lead.
4 bass.
All right, 4 bass for Roland Martin. Weight?
412.
4 pounds, 12 ounces, and of course that'll put you substantially in the money. Let's give him a nice hand, folks. You know, after 15 Classic, Roland, I don't know of a single man, including the contestants, that are not wishing that you could win this tournament. You've won every honor in bass fishing with the exception of the Classic, and once again, you've fallen just a little short. Can you give me just a wink of a feeling right now?
Well, Ray, I knew I'd lost it when I lost about a 4-pounder yesterday, and then after that I lost another one, and then I guess one today, so totally, I've probably had enough fish to bite if I'd caught every single one of them to have won. So total efficiency would have been the deal. But you know, when we fish, we can't always catch all the fish that bite. And that's the thrill of it, and that's why we'll go back again another day.
What would be one word of advice, just one tip that you could give some of these people that are viewing this show today, the Classic? What would that one tip be, Roland?
Go early and stay late.
All right, that's good enough. All right, thank you, Roland Martin. All right. In 8th place when this morning began, our last day, was our good friend Guido Hibden from Missouri. He had a total of 13 pounds, 11 ounces when he started this morning, and it looks like he, like most of the fellows, has a very, very small catch. Keep in mind now, $50,000 to the winner, and even the last man, the 41st man, the last guy in the race, takes home $1,000, and of course, a beautiful free week here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Guido Hibden from Missouri. He's 40 years old. He's got a great wife, Stella, who supported him over the last many years.
2 bass.
2 bass for Guido Hibden. And the weight?
1 pound, 12 ounces.
1 pound, 12 ounces, which will add to your weight of yesterday, which was 13 pounds, 11 ounces. All right. We've got some excitement happening because we have it coming up now with a number of the top fishermen are starting to pour in, the fellows that were doing well yesterday. Randy Fight from Montgomery, Texas, who was in 5th place yesterday. 14 pounds and 7 ounces. Go right ahead. Randy Fight, 32 years old. Fishing and finishing this year 23rd place. Only, it appears, 1 bass for him, which will probably move him down in the standings a little bit. He's fishing his 6th Bassmasters Classic, and he's here to tell you it's tough out on that water. Randy Fight. Randy is a cousin of Ricky Clunn, who is the three-time Bassmaster Classic champion of the past. Total winnings for Randy Fight, $50,000. All right, here we go. Randy Fight. Randy, it's been tough, pal.
It was tough for me today. I've had one moss bed that I've been working, and the fish have moved every day. Today I just wasn't able to locate the keeper fish anyway. I probably caught about 35 fish today, but you know, just 2 keepers.
All right, the weight?
2 pounds, 3
2 pounds and 3 ounces for Randy Fight. Randy, we want to thank you, pal, and we'll see you at the awards banquet tonight. All right. Charlie Reed, folks, of Broken Bow, Oklahoma. He'll be loading his basket, and we want to go ahead and move him along. Let's give him a nice hand. 51 years old. He's the oldest contestant in this tournament. Got his fine wife along, and he qualified 9th in the race to the Classic this year. Professional bass fisherman. Makes a living doing it. This is the first time he's ever qualified for the Classic, and listen to this, folks. He was in 4th place when this morning began, with a total weight of 14 pounds, 11 ounces. The only man in the tournament so far who has caught limits on both days, the first and second day. My folks, I want to tell you something. He's got a great chance to pull out here. Charlie Reed. All right, he's got to have 7 pounds, 7 ounces to put in the lead. Charlie Reed. Go to commercial. Good catch, Joe. Charlie Reed. All right, folks, every fish will be carefully examined to make sure he's alive. Make sure he measures at least 12 inches. We'll find out precisely the number. Charlie Reed, who has never qualified before this year for the Bassmasters Classic, has an excellent chance at pulling in the lead. Let's give him a nice hand as he comes up, folks. Charlie Reed, Broken Bow, Oklahoma. Charlie?
This is our first limit of the day.
This is the first limit of the day for us, and the third limit for Charlie Reed.
And he needs 7.7 to take the lead.
He needs
correct?
7 pounds, 7 ounces to take the lead.
What's the scales?
8 pounds, 13 ounces. What is it?
8 pounds, 14 ounces.
8 pounds, 14 ounces?
Right.
All right. That puts you in the lead by better than a pound. What's your feeling right now?
I got some folks behind me yet.
There's a few fellows out there, but gosh.
Fish too.
Huh?
They've caught some fish too.
Well, you have heard the fishing has been good for them as well.
You bet.
You've got to sweat it out now, mate. Don't leave, because right now you're leading the tournament, and it's $50,000 with your name on it if you win.
Very good. I'm ready. My banker will like it.
Your banker will like it.
Oh, he'll love it.
All right. All right. All right, folks, that's it. We've got another great fisherman coming in just a minute. Stand by. The Bassmasters Classic will be right back. Bassmasters Classic, and a few more of the anglers are coming in now, bringing their catch, and we've just had Charlie Reed of Oklahoma to pull in the lead with 23 pounds and 9 ounces. This being the final day of our Bassmasters Classic. Followed closely behind him is Gary Klein of California, and David Yarber, a young man from Gadsden, Alabama, holding on to 3rd place. This, I might introduce my good friend here, Harold Sharp, who's been with Bass for about 18 years, tournament coordinator, and an ex-citizen of the great city of Chattanooga. Harold, it's great to have you back in Chattanooga.
It's nice to be back in Chattanooga here with the Bassmasters Classic. Are we ready to weigh some more fish?
We are, and I just see Woo Daves has pulled in. Woo Daves was in 3rd place when this morning began. Woo Daves, our good buddy from up in Chester, Virginia, 40 years old. He's a dynamite young fisherman, and he loaded his sack. His wife Patty is with him, and she's over here standing up, just cheering up a storm. Hello, Patty. Woo days. There is a beautiful bass. It's got to be at least 3.5 pounds, and it may put him in the lead. He's got to have 8 pounds and 11 ounces to pull ahead of Charlie Reed from Oklahoma. Young Woo Dave. He's fishing his 5th Bassmasters Classic. A top fisherman from Virginia. Fishes all of the professional tournaments that we have throughout the year. Woo Daves.
You got 4 bass.
You have 4 bass, Woo. And you realize you've got to have 8 pounds, 11 ounces to pull in the lead.
I'm going to weigh this big one now, Ray.
All right, here we go.
Get still, Bass. Come on. Ooh. They're lively.
The fish are very lively and jumping all over the scale.
7, 9.
7 pounds, 9 ounces. Not quite enough, but we'll put him into 2nd place, I believe. Woo, you can't be much closer. But very quickly tell me, let's watch your big bass first. You've got a fine specimen here of largemouth bass. Big bass for you is 4 pounds and 3 ounces, Woo. Good fish.
Thank you, Ray. Hi, Mom. I want to thank all the people here in Tennessee and all my supporters, and especially the 2 girls out at the ramp this morning that had to sign up, wishing me good luck. Thank you a lot. Thank all the sponsors of the tournament, Harold Sharp's crew. Fish Former did it again today.
All right. There he is, folks, a beautiful largemouth bass caught by Mr. Woo Daves of Chester, Virginia. That is the big bass of the tournament of the Monks of Pros. Nice fish. Woo Daves. All right. Now, folks, the young man who was in 2nd place yesterday, first time ever to qualify for the Classic because he came from the Federation ranks from Massachusetts. Danny Correa, youngest pro we have, 24 years old. He qualified from the Eastern Division as a top angler, about 9,000 fishermen in that division, and he was top man. He had a total of 15 pounds and 3 ounces for the first 2 days. He's a very nice-looking young man, and he is very well poised for 24 years old, fishing amongst some very tough and seasoned pros. All right. He's still digging. If he can pull a limit out, he may do it. These live wells in there. Oh, that's a nice fish. That's 2-pound bass. All his buddies are pulling for him. All right. That's a good bunch of fish. Danny Correa. He can win this tournament with 8 pounds and 7 ounces of bass. I don't know whether he'll make it or not, but we shall know in just a minute. He's a fine young man, and we don't often have a man of his age come into this tournament for the first time pro and do so well. A number of people have been telling me that they want to see him pursue the professional ranks on a full-time basis if he can. He's a fine young man. We're very proud to have him a part of our Bassmasters Classic. All right, Danny. My friend,
right,
you're in.
6 bass.
Now, you realize you have to have 8-7 pulling the lead, but you know you're in top position anyway.
Right.
You got
I got
6
6
bass.
fish here and a couple small ones, so we'll hope for the
Have
best.
8-7. Watch the scale.
Watch your scale.
7, 9.
7 pounds, 9 ounces. Unfortunately, your buddies over here are very proud of you. All right. Danny Correa, stand with me just a minute. Folks, we want to step away just a minute. We'll be back with the Bassmasters Classic in just 1 minute. All right. Well, it appears that Charlie Reed is out front at the moment with 1 more fisherman to go. He has 23 pounds and 9 ounces to lead this Bassmasters Classic. And my good buddy right here, Danny Correa, who just came in and weighed, has moved up to a solid second place with 22 pounds, 12 ounces. A nice hand for the young man here. Danny, you got about 10,000 people here that pull for you all day. You didn't quite make the top bracket. You're very close. Nobody's ever been closer, not from the Federation ranks. And what's it meant to you to qualify for this Classic and do so well?
Well, qualifying for the Classic was the best thing that ever happened to me. It finally makes you decide where you're going to go in your future, with fishing anyways. And I just had a great time, and I thank everybody here and everybody on Bass. Great time.
Nice hand, folks. A young man, fine credit to bass fishing.
Thank you very much.
We'll see more of you. Danny Correa. Now, folks, the man who led this tournament when this day began with 16 pounds and 8 ounces, Jerry Ryan of Denver, North Carolina. Nice welcome, and he'll be removing his fish at this time. Jerry Ryan, a packaging salesman from Denver, North Carolina. Jerry is 45 years old. He has a lovely wife, Janice, sitting up here. Where are you, Janice? Janice is on the up near the top. Janice? Janice? Stand up. Let's take a bow. I know you're proud of Jerry Ryan. We're proud of you. All right, Jerry's from Denver, North Carolina. He had a very small lead this morning, and he's got to have 7 pounds and 2 ounces to hold on and win this tournament. If he doesn't have 7.2, he'll fall to one of the lower ranks, and we'll have a new winner. Jerry Ryan is no first-timer. He's qualified 7 years for the Bassmasters Classic, and he was third in the 1978 Classic. Total winnings to date, over $60,000. Remember, Charlie Reed is at the moment the leader from Oklahoma. If Ryan doesn't come up with 7 pounds, 2 ounces, then Charlie Reed, a first-timer at the Bassmasters Classic, will be our winner. And here he comes, folks. Let's give him a nice hand. Jerry Ryan, our leader through the second day.
All right, he's got 4 bass.
4 bass.
1 dead.
1 bass is deceased.
1 dead, 4 bass.
All right, 4 fish. And the weight for the 4 bass, so we've got to have 7 pounds, 2 ounces, or you fall from the lead.
313.
3 pounds, 13 ounces.